Hello, in this video I will discuss the difference between type 1 and type 2 errors. So every time you do a statistical test, you're testing a scientific hypothesis that has a null hypothesis that there's no difference between groups and an alternative hypothesis that there are differences between groups. And when you conduct this test, there's two possible ways that it can play out. Either you have a p-value that's typically, less than 0.05 is where you would reject the null. So that's one possibility. And the other possibility is your p-value is greater than your cutoff, say 0.05. So either you reject the null hypothesis or you fail to reject the null hypothesis. So let's say in this case that the null hypothesis is actually true. So in the real world, there's no difference between the two groups. If you say that there's a difference between the two groups, when in reality in the real world there's not a real difference, this is called a type 1 error. So a type 1 error is when you claim there's an effect when no effect really exists. Other possibilities, say you fail to reject the null hypothesis and the null hypothesis is true. Basically what that means is that you did a good job. The null hypothesis is actually true and you didn't reject the null hypothesis, so you didn't claim that there was an effect when there is no effect. So good job. Next, say you reject the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is false. Well, that's perfect. So basically what you're saying is that there's a difference between groups, and then, in the real world there actually is a difference between groups. So very good. And then the last possibility is you fail to reject the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is actually false, and this is a type 2 error. So basically what this means is there's a difference between the two groups. However, you didn't actually find it. So in summary, the differences between type 1 and type 2 error is just based on whether or not you reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis relative to the null hypothesis being true or false. So a type 1 error, you reject the null hypothesis when it's actually true. You claim that there's an effect when it doesn't really exist. And then the opposite is you fail to find an effect when an effect is actually there, and that's a type 2 error. I hope that you found this helpful, and I hope that you have a great day. Thanks for watching.